So I thought I would start today's presentation way back in the midst of time, in 1993, which seems a very long time ago. And this was the first time I ever came to Madrid. So this is me on the left, back in 1993, when I came to Madrid for the first time. I was in a music band called Marxman. We were named after Karl Marx. We were slightly left-wing. And we came to Madrid supporting Depeche Mode, and we had a very, very good time. And I've always had a very fond place in my heart for Madrid since 1993. So we used to work on physical media, which seems like ancient history. We released vinyl, CDs, cassette tapes. We actually released cassette tapes. It was back in the midst of time. And of course, this was before we had the internet really in our houses. This is before we had the cloud. So anytime we wanted to transfer data in and out of a machine, now this was my main instrument, which was a sampler that sampled small pieces of music to make loops. Anytime we wanted to work on a song, we had to get data in and out of the sampler on these things. Does anybody remember these things? Oh, okay, fantastic, that's good. So each of these little floppy disks held an enormous 2 megabytes of data, which at the time was a big deal. So if you wanted to load a song, you would have to spend, 20 minutes putting in disk and disk and disk. And every time you switched the machine off, you had to do it all over again. There was no way of getting stuff in and out. But things have changed a lot since 1993. Today, we can fit over 32,000 of these 2 megabyte disks onto something that's probably as big as your thumbnail, which is wonderful until you can't find it. So a bit too easy to lose. And of course, technology has changed across the board. Back in the 90s, this was what we needed to make records. We had to hire a huge, expensive studio and spend thousands of pounds there. But today, pretty much all of this can be accomplished on a laptop with a microphone. So technology has miniaturized very quickly and made it much easier to do things on the go. And of course, this is nowhere more evident than in terms of mobility. So back in '93, if I wanted to make some phone calls walking around Madrid, if I wanted to look at a map, if I wanted to listen to the Eagles, if I wanted to make some notes, maybe take some photographs, look at some photographs, look at my address book, etc., I would have had to carry a very heavy briefcase with all of this stuff in it all over Madrid, which would have been very painful. But today, of course, we have the smartphone. Everything is in the smartphone, which is very good news for consumers. So could I just ask for a quick show of hands? Could you put your hand up if you have a mobile phone? Very good. Could you put your hand up again if you have a smartphone? Wow, okay, well this is, as I'll come to later, that's fantastic. As I'll come to later, Spain really is leading, one of the leading countries in the world for mobile adoption and for smartphone adoption, which is very good news for fundraisers and charities and people looking to connect with consumers on these mobile devices. So I'm going to start the kind of data section of the presentation with some slides from a company called We Are Social. Now, with all of these slides, I've put the source for the data in really tiny letters down at the bottom, but I will be sharing this presentation on SlideShare straight after I'm finished. And you can download the PDF from SlideShare. I will put the event hashtag on, and then if you want to see where any data comes from, just click the link on the PDF. So it'll take you to all of the data sources, and of course you can contact me afterwards, or today. This is one point I'd like to make about this event. I think, on a kind of high level, we're all here for a reason, and one of the main reasons is to connect and to kind of make a network of connections that we can use to help each other and to help advance each other. And so I'm a great believer in connecting at these events. Please let's talk if you have any questions. We're going to have Q&A after the presentation. I believe it's Christina is very kindly going to translate into English for me on these headphones. But please come up and say hi afterwards, and also find me on LinkedIn and Twitter and all of those places. Anyway, time for some stats. So we can see here that mobile devices have now reached over 100% of the world's population. We're actually at 109% penetration for mobile devices on the planet. Compare this to Active mobile social accounts were at 41%, or indeed active social media accounts were at 49%, which is a little surprising. But we can see there that, that mobile really is the biggest story in technology at the moment. And these are statistics from January 2015. One interesting point to note is the year-on-year growth for mobile devices. We can see here that it's almost 40% year-on-year growth for mobile device adoption. And we can compare that with tablets, which is 17% year-on-year. And we can also see that the share of web page views for laptops and desktops is falling sharply. It's minus 13%. If we'd like to compare internet use to mobile use and social use, I think this really paints a very interesting picture. We can see here that 81% of Western Europe is accessing the internet. 47% of Western Europe is using social media. But coming back to mobile, we have 125% penetration for mobile devices in Western Europe. So this is a mobile world that we live in. People have more than one device, which of course means that explains why it's over 100%. We actually have more active mobile subscriptions in the world than we do people. So there are more mobile subscriptions than people on the planet today. And the trend is going up. I think this is illustrated very well by this slide from a very good analyst called Benedict Evans. You can visit his website from this link. And he basically measured the number of units shipped for desktops, laptops, tablets, and then iPhone and Android smartphones. And we can see here, like, you know, I always thought the adoption of desktops and PCs was pretty rapid, but not really. When you get to, you know, March 8, 9, 10, you can see the introduction of iPhone and Android smartphones. It just goes through the roof. And the trend is continuing this way. It's a J-curve so steep, it's almost vertical. Another good way to look at this is this slide from Mary Meeker from KPCB, which is, she publishes the Internet Trends Report every year. Has anyone heard of the Internet Trends Report? It's a fantastic piece of information. I would really recommend diving in every year. It kind of shows you what's happening at the front line of mobile device adoption and the internet. And we can see here that back in 1995, going back to the black and white photograph and the band in Madrid and the sideburns, there was only 1% of mobile device adoption on the planet. And as of last year, we've reached 73% population penetration for mobile phones. Now, an interesting point to note, it's not the case in Spain, but an interesting point to note globally is that most of those phones are not smartphones. They're still feature phones, so they can't do apps. People like Eric Schmidt, the CEO of Google, are predicting that within the next 5 years, everyone on the planet will be connected to the internet, and most of those connections will be via mobile devices. So it's a brave prediction, but he could be right. So we are moving towards, as The Economist christened it, a planet of the smartphones, populated by Phono sapien. And the evolution of Phono sapien is one way. We can see here we've moved from the desktop to this very mobile device, this supercomputer we have in our pockets that happens to make the odd phone call. And this evolution is really one way. We're not going to go back to a golden age of being chained to our desktops anytime soon. So basically, this is what's happening. This is the technology landscape. Mobile devices and smartphones are completely dominating. And Spain are, in fact, mobile leaders. So we can see here that Spain is second only to Norway, Finland, and Denmark in terms of mobile phone user penetration in Western Europe. And these are some statistics from eMarketer. So according to people like Telefonica, PayPal, and Neo Mobile, not only is Spain leading in terms of mobile device adoption, but you've got huge numbers of active users of apps. Over 23 million active users of apps in Spain in 2014. And it's predicted that mobile commerce is going to grow by almost 50% this year in Spain. You have 72% internet penetration, you have 61% mobile internet penetration. But in terms of mobile subscriptions, there are 55.7 million mobile subscriptions in Spain, which is 118% of the population. Of course, some people will have more than one. But this is amazing. This is an amazing opportunity in terms of how everyone here can connect with their donors and the opportunity of mobile. Looking at Spain, again, really as leaders in smartphone adoption, this is a very relevant slide. Spain is ahead of Canada, UK, Germany, US, France, and Italy in terms of smartphone device adoption. So this is the user penetration just measured in select countries, and we can see that Spain is way ahead of everyone else. So congratulations, that's very good news. So what this means in terms of the third sector, in terms of fundraising, it means your donors are changing. So millennials now outnumber baby boomers, and millennials are young, educated, social, and above all, mobile. In fact, millennials own more mobile devices than computers. And again, going back to the KPCB data, millennials said 87% of millennials, almost all the millennials surveyed, said that a smartphone would never leave their side. And most millennials said they agreed with the statement that in 5 years, everything will be done on mobile devices. Everything within 5 years. Most millennials agree with that statement. So food for thought. So donors are changing. They're using mobile devices for everything from alerts to customer support to purchasing, banking, security, mobile browsing, surveys, etc. And mobile messaging is still a premium channel because it doesn't have the low cost or the free aspect of email. It is still a premium channel, so it's very valuable for communicating. And charities are doing some great work around mobile messaging. In fact, 98% of text messages are read within the first 10 minutes. Compare this to email. I have a Gmail account with 30,000 unread Gmails. I will never get even the time to delete all the emails I don't want to read. I'm just going to have to leave them there. So we'll see what happens. Now, Forrester Research have a very interesting way of looking at this. They say we've moved from the age of manufacturing through the age of distribution in the 60s, through the age of information in the 90s, and now we are at the age of the customer in 2010. So empowered buyers are demanding a new level of customer obsession from the brands that they interact with. So the age of the customer comes with 4 market imperatives, which are very important to understand and to embrace. Number 1 is to embrace the mobile mind shift. There really is a mobile mind shift in terms of how people expect to deal with brands and charities. Number 2, it's important to become a digital disruptor. Just because it hasn't been done before doesn't mean you shouldn't start now. You can be a disruptor because this is disruptive technology. Number 3, turn big data into business insights. As the ex-CEO of Tesco said, we live in an era of mass personalization. Because we have all this data about consumer behavior, we can turn this into insights and we can apply it to how we connect with people. And number 4, really transform the customer experience. I'll speak a bit more about this, but this is such an important aspect to really focus on the customer and focus on the entire customer experience. So this is Julie Ask, a wonderful lady who's one of the chief analysts at Forrester. And I saw her present at a conference about a year ago. I was absolutely blown away. But I really like this quote. She talks about mobile moments and what they mean. It's just worth remembering. She says, in mobile moments, you begin to think about the needs of customers or consumers on the go, on the move. You proactively serve customers based on their context, what they're doing, where they are, etc. We believe this will transform your entire business. And if anyone would like a copy of this report, Open Market licensed the report, so if you'd like, I can tell you where to get it for free. It's a really good report. So something interesting is happening in business. So this is a slide put together by a guy called Tom Goodwin, who's a very interesting commentator. And he just pointed out, he just kind of gathered a few thoughts. He said that Uber is the world's largest taxi company, but it owns no vehicles. Facebook is the world's most popular media owner, but it creates no content. Alibaba is the world's most valuable retailer, but it has no inventory. And Airbnb is the world's largest accommodation provider, and it owns zero real estate. So this is kind of interesting. These are companies that are embracing the mobile mind shift and the mobile imperative. If you look at Uber, I think something like 700 Uber rides are ordered every second, all through mobile devices. So I think one thing that mobile does very well, because consumers, remember the briefcase with all the different stuff and the camera and the CDs and the maps. If you like, these are siloed areas of interaction. But now there's no silos there. All of this stuff happens on my smartphone. So what mobile is doing is really smashing the silos between different business functions, be that for a corporate, be that for a charity. The consumer has an expectation. All of this stuff is going to happen in one place. So for the consumer, there are no silos. And this means that businesses and charities, really in terms of how they look at the customer experience, need to break down the silos between things like customer support, alerts, marketing, payment, human resources, notifications, whatever it is. There's no silo for the consumer anymore. But this is good news because mobile is also the glue that holds it all together. Again, consumers are experiencing all of these interactions with brands on one device. So look at mobile as the glue for the entire customer experience, the one point that holds it all together now, because we are all on our mobiles, especially Spain. So let's talk about some fundraising. I just put this there for no reason. I really like it. This is what would happen. If the Titanic was sinking today, everyone would be periscoping it, of course. This is a great example of fundraising that one of our clients, Open Fundraising in the UK, they're one of my favorite clients, wonderful people. They put together a campaign with the Commonwealth Games and UNICEF last year in the UK, and the idea was to get lots of celebrities to ask people to put children first. That was a campaign, put children first. So there was a single call to action, just one, and they asked people to text the word first to 70333. And in a single call to action, they generated £3 million in revenue. 10% of the UK adult population watched the opening ceremony, and 10% of the people who watched donated. So 1% of the UK population donated from a single call to action, raising over £3 million. I think this is a great example of harnessing the power and ubiquity of mobile. Everyone has a mobile device, and if you harness it in the right way, the results for fundraising can be huge, very significant. But it's, of course, it's not just about the fundraising, it's about the engagement. What do you do after the initial fundraising? How do you connect with your donors across the entire user journey? I think this is the very important point, because mobile devices are so personal. It kind of changes the way we look at campaigns. So, again, another excuse to put up a really silly picture that I just like. It's 4 guys in makeup sitting on a skyscraper. It's just an easy way to remember. One of the main considerations with running any kind of campaign on mobile is to keep it simple at the start. KISS, right? So some examples of keeping it simple at the start. This is Amnesty International, who one of our clients supplies. And this is a great way to get people to sign this petition to support Pussy Riot. Text Action 22, followed by your message of support and your name to 88080. Fantastic, very simple. And once somebody has done this, they have given you a lot of information about themselves, and you can start to build a relationship. Another example from one of our clients, Open Fundraising, and their amazing campaign for the World Wildlife Fund. This was a very impactful poster on railways in the UK, saying, "Poachers shot his mother. Will you help stop the killing?" You know, wow, who doesn't want to help stop the killing and save a cute tiger? It's excellent. So how do you do this? You text ADOPT to 70002 to give just £3 a month. So one interesting thing that Open Fundraising did was they did some time trials for the top 20 charities in the UK, and they compared how long it took to actually give some money by using a mobile device for the top 20 charities. And at the time, a lot of charities hadn't introduced text to give. So it was a credit card page on a mobile, and the average time was 4 minutes. So people were taking 4 minutes to get their credit card and put it in, and to get the this and get the that. So not great, not a great user experience. And then they did some time trials on how long it takes somebody to do something like this. And the average amount of time was 5 seconds. So we can compare the 4 minutes to the 5 seconds and think about what's going to resonate more with the millennials and this generation that are very in touch with technology and want very quick results. So this is phenomenal. In 5 seconds, somebody on a train can pick out their phone, text in, and then they've signed up to regular giving, and until the end of time, they're going to give £3 a month. Fantastic. They'll also get messages with videos of baby tigers and good stuff that's happening with their campaigns and what their money is doing. So it's not just one way, it's not just set it up and forget about it. The charity is reaching out and saying, this great stuff is happening with your donation, well done. And of course, mobile is wonderful for acquisition. And it works on any device. So whether that's a mobile donation or signing a petition, it works on a feature phone, it works on a smartphone, and you can use the shortcode anywhere, on social media, on posters, on television, on outdoor. And it's wonderful for acquiring new users. And it's important to look at the donors as being at the start of an acquisition journey as well. So this is I used to work for a Finnish company, and they were all about the funnel, and every day we looked at the funnel. So this was the funnel. It goes from acquisition to engagement to conversion to retention. Retention, of course, being the most important one, because this is where you can really build a relationship with a donor. You can move them onto other platforms, but use mobile as the way that they join the funnel. And just to repeat, this will all be available to download on SlideShare straight away, and I will post it with the hashtag, so anyone can download it. Thank you. So one thing that you need to think about is once somebody has come into the top of that funnel, you need to keep talking with them. So this is an example from a bad charity. It actually says bad charity on the phone, so that gives you a clue. So somebody has just texted in donate to give some money to this bad charity, and they text back, okay, thanks, bye. And then there's some tumbleweeds. That's it. There's no more interaction. So that's obviously terrible, because somebody has taken the time. They want more information. They want to interact. So compare it to this. This is, again, from our friends at Open Fundraising, a great campaign they did for UNICEF. They still do for UNICEF. I subscribed to this years ago, and every month, without fail, I get a great message saying, hey, thanks for your £3 this month. These beautiful images show how you're helping UNICEF protect millions of children from malaria this year. You click the link, and it goes through to a mobile optimized site. You can really see what your money is doing. This is fantastic. This inspires me with confidence for this charity. It's such a good user experience. So keep talking. And another recommendation, this is from a very interesting speaker called Gerd Leonard. He says, marketing is content, is marketing, is content. It's kind of the same thing these days. So a good way to look at content is to stop advertising and start engaging. Here's a great example. Cancer Research UK, clients of Open Market, they did the no makeup selfie in the UK last year. And this is, they encouraged people to take a selfie of themselves with no makeup on, and then post it on Twitter or social media with the hashtag no makeup selfie. And then the deal was, once you've done this, you text into a short code and give £3 from your mobile phone. It was hugely successful, and they did an amazing job capitalizing on this tide of support on social media. In fact, it raised £8 million in 6 days, £8 million, but also built up a 2.5 million database for the charity to communicate with subsequently. So again, it's a big tip of the iceberg, the 8 million, but the below the surface of the iceberg is all of those mobile numbers they can then reach out to for more stuff. and optimize the user journey. So here's my favorite made-up charity, Save the Bees. I just found this nice picture of a man dressed in a bee suit. So he obviously looks like he wants to go and run a marathon and raise money for Save the Bees. So luckily enough, they've texted him and said, hey, would you like to support Save the Bees by running in the Brighton Marathon? Reply yes for more details and a free vest. So probably a bee vest. And so he replies yes. He looks like a happy man. And says, thanks, wonderful. Please reply with your address, your vest size, and gender, and we will get a vest sent to you ASAP. So everybody's happy. But an interesting point about this is these kind of asks are building up demographic profile. So now Save the Bees know that it's a gentleman, and he probably is a medium size, and they probably know that he likes to run marathons now, and you can build this information up bit by bit. And then you can personalize around the mobile device. So this is a great response from a donation I made to Save the Bees. It says, thanks. This is a free message. Thanks for your SMS donation, Oisin, my first name. We already have your gift aid details, because they do. They're storing these details. Just reply change if you have moved. So you can really personalize around the mobile device. And one interesting thing that we're seeing with open market is that with our clients is that people are very responsive to asking for more money if it's in the moment. So, picture somebody's at home, they're watching a very emotional piece of video on television, and they give by donating. And then they get a text message back saying, hey, thank you so much for your donation. Did you know if you want to, you can give another £10 right away from your phone just by texting yes or texting donate 10. Because sometimes people don't think that they can do it a few times. And this may sound counterintuitive, but actually people, if they've given £10, they're kind of happy to give £20. It's from their phone bill. It's £20 is not a huge difference to £10 in some ways. So this is great. So you can kind of optimize for larger donations around the mobile device as well. Now, this is a slide I've borrowed from one of our clients, who's one of the top 10 charities in the UK. And this was just a story about why, when, and how they introduced a mobile optimized website. So they noticed that a lot of their traffic was coming onto their site, and it was trying to make a donation, and it was falling off a cliff. And this traffic was coming from mobile devices. Their mobile traffic was going like this, but their donations were going like this because the mobile experience was so terrible. It was really bad. So they didn't really have time. They knew it was kind of an emergency. They had to do something quickly, and they didn't have time to redesign the entire site for responsive design, and it works on everything, and blah, blah, blah. So they just made a mobile optimized site that detects that you're coming from a mobile and gives you a different version. Now, of course, people accessing your website from a mobile, they're probably not interested in details of the trustees or the charity history. They want to give some money. So they made it very obvious on this mobile optimized site how to give money. And they found that in a couple of months, it added 50% onto their total donations, just by introducing a really cheap and really quick mobile optimized page for people coming with mobile devices. So, you don't have to reinvent everything or rewrite everything for responsive design. If you need to just introduce a mobile optimized website, you can have great results. And of course, one of the interesting things about mobile acquisition is that it's 100% clean data. So, I'm very used in the UK to seeing people on the street with boards and they're writing down details and all the rest, which is great. But if somebody texts in, that data is 100% clean and accurate, and you have their phone number. So depending on the terms and conditions of your interaction, maybe you can call them, maybe you can text them, etc. You have to be very respectful. You can never spam, but the data is 100% clean. So this represents a great opportunity. So a little bit about open market. I wrote some points down here. This is a white paper which you can all have. It's something we put together, and it's really about how mobile is transforming the customer experience. And it's pretty cool. So you can download it for free by going to bit.ly/O_M white paper. But again, I'll post it afterwards with the event hashtag. So open market, we've been kind of supporting charities for quite a long time. We've worked with people like the DEC. We've been their mobile partner since day one. We work with Cancer Research UK, Save the Children, UNICEF. open fundraising, as I mentioned. And last year, our systems processed over 30 million in donations from mobile devices in the UK. Things like Ice Bucket Challenge, Band-Aid 30, Comic Relief, Children in Need, Stand Up to Cancer, all went over our gateways. So if you'd like any more information about Open Market, there's some good information in there, or speak to me afterwards, or visit openmarket.com or @openmarket on Twitter. Okay, end of the plug. So I'd like to talk for this part of the presentation about one of our clients. I'm a huge fan of this organization. They're really amazing. They're called the DEC, the Disasters and Emergencies Committee. Has anyone heard of the DEC in the audience? A few people. Wonderful. Thank you. That's great. Well, they're really they're a pop-up charity. They have 13 member agencies, and they come to life in times of great humanitarian crisis. So they're a bit like an A-team for fundraising. They wheel in and they kind of mobilize a lot of resources, and they raise a lot of money very quickly and get it to people who need it very quickly. So it's actually the member agencies, which you can see here in the circle, things like World Vision, Tear Fund, Save the Children, Oxfam, etc. They actually deliver the aid. The DEC pop up, and they collect a lot of money very quickly. They've been around since '63. They've done over 60 appeals. They've raised over $1 billion, and they reach record-breaking fundraising levels. Absolutely huge. So I must thank Catherine Brook from the DEC for these slides. And DEC have used SMS for quite a few years. They have one short code, 70000, but they use multiple keywords to track where the donations are coming from. They see a huge spike from TV appeals, which we'll come to later. And they also use outbound messaging to ask for money, and also to let people know that there's a campaign on at the moment. And this is a quick snapshot of their total SMS income from the past 4 campaigns. So we see, it can be, $1.5 million, $500,000. It's a significant amount of money to raise very quickly. So one thing that they recommend, which I totally agree with, is if you have a mobile donation shortcode, or a mobile acquisition shortcode, indeed, if it's a petition, use the shortcode everywhere. There's no harm in it. You can see that the DEC are using the shortcode on Google Display and AdWords. They're using it on television. They're using it in print. And so they really use it everywhere. And what they found the first year, this is from the first year they actually introduced, they really pushed a mobile shortcode. And they were kind of curious to see, was it going to cannibalize? Was it going to slow down other donations? So they experimented with putting it really to the front of a TV spot that they had on the news, on the ITN. And what they found is they raised almost £300,000 in less than 24 hours just through the mobile shortcode. And it was then that the penny dropped, and they thought, aha, there's something going on here. They analyzed the donations. They found they hadn't lost any of their old donors, or people who like doing direct debits or cash, but they've actually opened the door to a lot of younger people who have who they watch television with their phones glued to their hands. And of course they want to help. Young people are very conscientious, they're very politically aware, and they're very, they want to help. So they're altruistic. But the point is kind of giving them the means to do it in a way that they appreciate and they're familiar with. So the DEC identified that mobile donation was a great way to do this. Another thing that they do very well is use the mobile shortcode on all of their print material for acquisition. And it's fantastic because if you're walking past this poster, this huge poster, and it says, this is made up of 320,000 dots, one for every homeless child in Nepal. Text save to 70,000 to give £5. Instant. Again, this will take you 5 seconds walking past the poster to opt in, to text, to give £5 from your mobile. It's very powerful. But you'll notice one of the interesting things they do is they use multiple keywords on the same shortcode. So this 70,000 shortcode they have everywhere, but this keyword here, tube, is just for posters on the metro. And this keyword save is for their outdoor advertising. So they can track where the money is coming from. So their recommendations, again from Catherine, in terms of how do you keep your donors engaged if you just have their phone number, which is an interesting challenge. One thing you must do is remember to keep in touch every 6 months. Now, this is actually a regulatory issue in the UK, because after 6 months, if I give up my mobile phone contract, after 6 months, my mobile network, the old network, can just give somebody else a number. So you have to interact with your donors at least once every 6 months, just to kind of keep the connection and identify if somebody has moved. Of course, have a mobile-first website. As we've seen earlier, the majority of internet traffic is coming from mobile devices. You must have a mobile-first website. And also have a mobile-friendly donating site. Ask donors to be involved. You'd be surprised how delighted they are to hear from you in terms of things like giving feedback. So the DEC used it to ask donors to give feedback on a new website before it was launched. Another charity used SMS for kind of discreet feedback on the dialer agency. So they texted people who had been called and said, hey, how did you rate the experience? Was it okay that we called you? You know, how was the person, etc. And what they found is that people are more honest by text, right? You know, instead of somebody ringing up and saying, hey, so did you like me and was I okay? You know, that puts a bit of pressure on it. If it's just a text message saying, hey, how was the dialer? How was the call? People are quite honest. What they found is that people were actually happy to be called. It was really good feedback, but it was great to get it by text. And also use mobile-friendly suppliers. So in the UK, Just Giving have an amazing product, and you know, we work alongside them for a great many initiatives. And yeah, another few tips for mobile engagement from the DEC. So test different asks, test regular giving versus one-off giving. Have a look at what a like on Facebook means versus a website visit. Where does that traffic go? What do people do? Launch surveys, ask people what they think, where they want to see the money go, what news they would like to kind of know about. So really reach out to your donors and get them involved. And also in the UK, gift aid asks is very important. And one thing that the DEC recommended was really engaging by social media, because this is where a lot of the donors are. So look at Facebook, Twitter as an ask, and also include a link over to social media in a thank you. And I've got an interesting example here. So one of the main things that people do in the mobile devices, of course, is go on social networks. So make sure your shortcode is all over your social media. If you have a celebrity endorsement, give them the shortcode. If you have Google AdWords, give them the shortcode. On your Facebook page, just have it in the description. Just use it anywhere. There's no harm in it. And this is a good example of how the DEC actually pushed people to their social channels after a donation. So after I've made a donation, after I've gift aided it, they just send a link to twitter.com/DEC appeal, and it moves straight through to the DEC Twitter page. So this is a great opportunity to continue the user journey. Don't leave people at a dead end. And of course, mobile plus TV is really interesting because it's real time. So you can actually use the data that's coming from mobile to define your content strategy and what you're going to do next. You can react in real time to what the donors are responding to. And here's some more tips from the DEC. So use mobile data to define your mobile strategy. If you can, match your mobile donors' details to your database and segment donors. But this is easier said than done. It's pretty tricky, apparently. The DEC have resources, and even they find it tricky. But if you can do it, it's a good idea. And also, mobile data is very fast. It's real time, so it's really useful in an emergency. So you can track by keywords, but keep your keywords manageable. Don't use hundreds of keywords. Maybe use 10, 20, 30, 40. If you have hundreds of keywords, it gets meaningless. It gets too complicated. Use major keywords to track where the traffic is coming from. Collect gift aid, because this also gives you demographic insight. In the UK, this is very important. And you can also show you how many people are giving online versus mobile, etc. And of course, having a payment platform that works on mobile is very important, as we mentioned. And also look at what the mobile conversion is like and track that in real time. So great tips there from the DEC. I hope that was useful, and this will all be available in the presentation to download. So I wanted to share with you at this stage this incredible video made by one of our clients, Save the Children. One, because it's an amazing video. I was very moved when I saw it the first time. And another, because have a look at how they're using mobile around this piece of YouTube content. It's fantastic. If you look just up at the top right-hand corner, It just says UK, text child to 70008 to donate £5. US, text Syria to 20222 to donate $5. So very simple, very unobtrusive, but it's there, it's an option. If people feel moved by the video in the UK and the US, they can take out their phones and donate straight away. And we can see here it's had almost 50 million views. So very popular. So there's going to be some sound here. Just maybe make sure it's not too loud. Oh, yeah, here we are.
Happy birthday to you.
Make a wish.
Granny.
Hello.
Have you done your homework?
Adam.
Ready or not?
Here it comes.
Violent clashes with British. Live ammunition against.
Deserve to get shot.
Have a nice day. Bye, Mum.
Airstrikes on rebel position.
We are going to stay.
What's happening?
Heavy fighting in Richmond.
Dad, where are we?
Rebel forces advance.
Happy birthday to you. Make a wish, darling.
So an incredible video. I found it very powerful. But I wanted to play it because of this piece of information here. I think this kind of says something about why we are all in this room. Because, you know, we have a choice in terms of what we can do with our time and what we support and what we spend our lives doing. And, you know, I think anyone who's here, you understand this statement. Just because it isn't happening here doesn't mean it isn't happening. You know, you are awake and you can see what's happening and you're doing something to change the world for the better. You are joining people who can help with people who need help. And this is one of the most important things in the world. So I applaud and salute all of you for your chosen path in life and the fact that you are here today to do something about this. And I hope if this presentation shares anything, it gives you some ideas on how you can connect with people using mobile, because mobile is here, it's taking off, it is dominating the landscape of how people connect with each other. And so it's a very important channel to get a handle on and to make sure you use properly. Yes, and this is the last slide. I thought I'd end on a hopeful note. And this is really, you know, coming back to that idea of just because it isn't happening here doesn't mean it isn't happening. You know, this is a quote from one of my favorite spiritual teachers, Bill Hicks, and it's very beautiful. It says, "It is only a choice, a simple choice, right now, between fear and love. The eyes of fear want you to put bigger locks on your doors, buy guns, close yourself off. But the eyes of love instead see us all as one." And I think this is the enlightened state of consciousness that people in the third sector have reached, where they actually understand that we are all one, and they understand that things happening in distant places are things that we need to help with. So I salute all of you for being here. I salute all of you for working in the third sector, and I thank you for your time and attention over these past few minutes. And let's have some questions, but this is for you, for paying attention. Thank you.